Spacebird Media.
Walking through the shadows, got my head held high.
I believe in the power that lifts you to the sky.
With every step I'm taking, feel the fire at night. Rocks in and aches, we're ready for the fight. With faith we'll soar, our spirits will break. Together we'll rise for the dreams that we make. Unlimited style, unlimited faith, unlimited love, unlimited grace. Just you can be who you are, and when you are unlimited, you're a star.
Hey, what's up? It's Roxanne and Ace Unlimited. Welcome to another week. Hopefully you are warm wherever you are. The Arctic blast has kind of coated all over America. I'm not here to predict, but maybe it has something to do with the election. I don't know. I just leave that out there. But so glad to be back. Birmingham Mortgage Group and My Brother's Cup making it a reality. Roxanne, how you doing?
I'm doing just great. Yeah, it's so weird to look at snow at the beach. How often does that happen? And poor New Orleans, Bourbon Street is buried in snow, which is something they never see. So it's quite bizarre. I was hoping here in central Alabama it would happen for us again because I love it, but it didn't. Oh, well.
It is kind of funny to see snow and palm trees in the same photo and know that it's not actually photoshopped.
It is so bizarre. Well, there's a lot going on in the world, but I got to tell you, if you were a Carrie Underwood fan, you're a bigger fan now. Here she is, the president of the United States is behind her shoulder. It is time for the inauguration, which she took a lot of hate for doing, for her to sing America the Beautiful.
Yep.
So can you imagine this? The world is watching. The world.
Oh, yeah.
And your song starts, then there's no music. Then a guy whispers to you, there's no music. And she smiled and said, I'll just sing it. And she did and invited everybody to sing along. It was eloquence.
Yeah.
It was beauty. It was poise. I'm like, I've watched it like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and as someone who's involved with sporting events as the sound guy, I felt bad for him because, like, that's the worst. You go to hit the button and then nothing, even though you tested it like an hour before and it was fine. But I would say probably not since LeAnn Rimes released her a cappella version of the national anthem have I heard something so perfect. I mean, just every note flawless. I mean, again, that's why she is who she is. But all of that to say, if you're ever in that setting, just roll with it. Like, okay, track's not working. If you're in church, if you're, in a public setting, just go because you're either prepared or you're not. Music's not going to cover you up. Just show what you can. And then people will appreciate you just because you didn't let it bother you. Like she could have been like, I'm not singing now. I mean, you're on national television. Hello.
Yeah, and it's live. And so we've got to congratulate her. The outfits that Melania Trump has worn.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Pure class.
Yeah.
She's taken a lot of flack as first lady. That suit, it was tough. It was powerful. And Jimmy Kimmel was so funny. He said, yeah, that's her own border wall. So nobody could reach her, including the president was trying to get up underneath her hat to kiss her. And it was, this wide brim with that business suit and her gown. She looked gorgeous. And of course, that isn't what the inauguration should be all about, but we're watching and we're paying attention.
Well, everyone else
And
is
then
talking
there
about
was
the politics side of it. We want to talk about the other things.
Like the chesticles. This is a new term. Lauren Sanchez, who I believe by now is married to Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. She had a white suit with a bralette, lace, and it's chesticles is how it's being referred to. Many saying inappropriate for an inauguration. But Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is literally,
Show some couth, man.
There are 20 men who are looking right there in the inauguration. And she's just like, chesticles, I have arrived.
The fact that that is a term is degrading already. I will say though, back to the fashions, I loved that Jimmy Fallon came out the night of the inauguration. He came out wearing her same hat, and he's like, "Who wore it better?
Yes.
Who wore it
Yes.
better?" So you got to
So
love when you embrace
adorable.
the humorous side of a very serious day, and knowing the world is watching. Everybody's taking their little, P's and Q's from it all.
Well, and TikTok's breakdown. I know you were thinking of me. When TikTok went dark, you could hear me howling,
I heard it.
and along with everybody else. And so then we're TikTok refugees. Where do we go? It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I don't want the Chinese to, look at my molars and get everything they want and put us at risk. So if
Right.
people that know really think they're going to control us, then okay. I just enjoy the app. So I'm texting you, what's my alternative? Where do I go? What are you going to do? And you had several suggestions, and we grieved. And then it came back. It came back.
But it was
It
so
came back.
short. I am so much a conspiracy theorist at times that I'm like, was this just a big ploy to get everybody to, I don't know that it was ever really real.
That's what a lot of people think, that it's a big stunt, and getting the US to own 50% of it, they say, is impossible. So we could lose it again. But in the meantime, and it was like, while I have it, I'm going to look at all my Frenchie Bulldog videos over and over. Well,
Right.
I can still do it.
Yeah. Well, and my thought was, especially because my wife is an influencer in the TikTok shop. So, thinking of people who that's not only their side income, but it's for some a main income. So that was a big concern. But in that, I was also thinking that it was like, if you look at it from the TikTok shop perspective, they just needed to clear house. So they were just selling everything as fast as they could by midnight. And then, oh, yeah, we're back. And, oh, everything's stocked. And, here's all the new deals. So that's just where my brain goes.
Well, I hope she'll be okay. I know she has fun doing that, and she's
Oh, yeah.
great at it. Let's talk about AI Jesus and see what your feelings are on that. At a Catholic church in Switzerland, they decided to set up an AI Jesus inside the confessional. And see, people could choose if they wanted a real priest or an AI Jesus that they made with long hair to look like Jesus. And then programmed it with all the responses for things like, I feel suicidal. What should I do about these tendencies? Sin, everything. They programmed it and then got people's responses. Well, it was very mixed. Some people said, hey, the AI Jesus was cool and he made sense and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's outrage, like large outrage, like that's the devil,
Yeah.
it's Satan, anybody who would do that. It perverts the relationship we have with the real Christ. Your thoughts on it, Ace?
Well, I mean, I know my Catholic friends would easily go, nope, that's a no-no. We're not, taking away. When people come to confessional, they're there to talk to a priest who has been orchestrated by Christ himself to absorb and, give you penance. All of that to say, I think it's all just an experimental thing to see how the public reacts. And when they go, no way, then they know, okay, that's too far. So I personally don't care, because my connection to God is my daily conversations with him in the quietness of me in my room, my car, my wherever, and my music. But I can see why people would be offended.
Well, here's the other thing about that. Chat GPT, you can create a woman married, in her 20s, created her ideal man. She programmed the man to talk dirty to her, which you're not supposed to do.
Yep.
She figured out a way to do it. Then she got attached to the man, like fell in love with him. She told her husband, I'm in love with this person, this avatar. He said, that's okay. Then that gives me a hall pass for what I want to look at. But you can only spend 30 something hours a week with it. So guess what? She's paying $200 a month to have more hours with this man who has an English accent and calls her darling. I do think that's the beginning of the end. When he's not real.
Right.
He's not real.
Well, and again, it goes back to there is no such thing as the perfect man female couple relationship. I mean, you embrace the flaws, you love them and want to be with them in spite of their flaws, and you hope that they choose you for the same thing, because every flaw is attached to a million wonderful things about them, and you can't cut out the negative, thinking that, like, I like when my wife and I get into a situation where we're processing something together, and it's like, look, I need to be real for a second, just hear me out, and we process each other's thoughts together and go, well, that might be too much, or yeah, no, I was thinking or feeling the same way, because it brings us closer together in those ugly spots. And then if we do something or say something that we need to apologize for, then we can do that too. But it's in that safety and sanctuary of trusting and loving each other no matter what.
And to me, if you're programming it to say and do these things, it's just so dangerous. We need prayer.
Yep.
You know, and I'm a tech person. I love advances, and I know that there are good uses for AI, and I know we're moving in that direction. But wow, if it's not flesh and blood, what are we doing? It's okay. All right, I'm going to take a deep breath. Influencer is not that hard to say. And now it's all the rage at college campuses.
I can see that.
I mean, it's become a genuine course. And if you ask today's young kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? They all want to be an influencer. They want to be famous. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be on TikTok. And they want to make lots of money as an influencer. So Gen Zers are the ones that are really tapping into this whole phenomena. Arkansas State University has a Bachelor of Arts now in social media influencing.
Yep. I believe it. And I will say that the thing I do love about it is at least there is a college degree that they're attaching to this, because I think for a while, because they didn't really know how to teach it, then it's like, well, I don't need to go to college. I'm going to be an influencer. Okay, well, you don't have the proper skills of marketing, branding, business, any of that. You're just hoping that one of your videos will trend because you did a dance or you made a recipe or whatever. And that has happened. Yay for those it has. But it is such an nth of a percent that the great thing is when the influencing goes away, you can still have something to back up on and then make a name for yourself and go, yeah, I used to be an influencer. Now I'm running this major corporation and running their social media because I got some education along the way.
Well, and there's more to it than just popping on, recording something, and sticking it up somewhere. As you know, Ace, there's a lot to the rhythms, the algorithms of how these apps work. And there's a science to marketing that I think people can learn. And like you said, have something to back it up, learn it. You know, you can't just go on and do a video, a TikTok, unless you know how.
No.
And you can teach yourself. But it would have been great in the hours that I was learning and screaming out loud because I'm such a patient person.
But in a lot of cases, you're learning it from someone who had to learn it the hard way as well. So if you're going to provide classes, that's great. Take it out. Because again, now there's so many, you have to be as good as who's ever the best, right? It's got to look a certain way. It's got to flow a certain way. You know, you got to know how to do all the edits, whether you're using a special app or special computer software. So or even back to AI, there in some cases, AI can even cut your clips for you to help with that. So there's so many levels. You have to know where's the best way to put your eggs in the right basket.
Well, and I thought Ace is the best at this ever. You could teach courses easily. And then I thought, no, I'm hoarding him all to myself.
I don't want to be a professor.
You'd be the coolest professor. Can you imagine? You walk in with all those tattoos and that hat and your suits, your gorgeous.
I'd also let us get out of class early. Like, all right, let's go to lunch.
They'd be like, whoa, okay.
Who brought the Twizzlers? Well, someone who knows what they're talking about, and especially when it comes to buying a home, especially if you are getting into your dream home or a dream to you home, here's what's great. Turin at Birmingham Mortgage Group is ready to make that happen. If you, of course, have already found the house you want to see if you qualify for, find out. Get that pre-qualification letter so that you can go in stress-free to that situation.
Working in Alabama and Florida, so they've really expanded. And he is the mortgage guru. He makes it happen for
Yeah.
you. I mean, us being in this home is a miracle. And I'm so excited to share our big secret, which is to renew with you. Birmingham Mortgage Group. Make that call today, 205-259-1656, or log on to bhammortgage.com.
All right. So how do we as husbands help be chill when our wives are a little stressed?
This is so good. And we've talked about this before. Listening without trying to fix. And you've mentioned that several times. So we won't, go into that, but you guys want to fix.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just want you to understand. And here's the thing though, that this is so good. Validating her feelings. How do you do that? Saying, I can see why you feel that way. Or I totally understand. Or I get it. And then we go, he gets it.
Well, and there was even a moment my wife and I had this weekend while she was out of town where I was trying to figure something out, and I was trying to figure it out and then tell her about it when she got back. And she would rather me have told her about it while I was working through it because she didn't like not being a part of the process. To which I had to eat some crow and apologize because that also was kind of a trigger for her in a couple of things. But that was all on me. But again, like we were talking earlier, you have to create that safe space that we can be in our ugly places and process the inconveniences of life. That's what typically happens most of the time. We're inconvenienced by something. The emotion of it runs over us, or we fear the worst. And then we don't know where to go with it. And so we're like, well, here's what you should do. Just do this. Oh, no. I have to process. I have to mourn. I have to be mad at the situation for a little while. We usually give ourselves like the hour to process whatever emotions we need. So if it's anger, frustration, whatever, it's like, I just need to be in this attitude right now. Because we know the other one's going to snap out of it. And I always say, and husbands and wives need to say, is, what can I do? And
that's good.
My wife will easily tell you, and we both are this way, I just need to be bummed about this for a minute. Like, I'm really disappointed that X is happening or X isn't happening. And I want to feel all of the things so then I can go, God, I know I'm trusting you. Because we could easily just go, well, Jesus is going to take care of everything. I know. You want to get your spouse hotter than hot? Say that because they know it, but when you're processing the emotional, the flesh side of it, it's hard. And and God knows that I'm only going to be ugly in the sanctuary of my spouse and him, and they're the two people that will forgive me the fastest, right?
Yeah.
So give yourself that space to do it. Don't go online and all over to the social media and then all of the feedback that comes that's only going to make things worse. Process it, pray about it, and then act.
I love it. So what do football players do pre-game to get pumped up? Denver Broncos quarterback Bo Nix, Christian music.
I love it.
And I think it's cool. And he shared that and he showed it in videos. And others are like, God's getting him pumped. Yeah, go. I just think it's great when well-known athletes aren't hiding the fact that the Lord is with them and they're excited about their faith.
Yeah. Well, and even if you break it down, because I know a lot of people, you're not necessarily playing in a big bowl game or anything, but you might be trying to work out. And sometimes it's the right playlist that motivates you. So do you have like certain songs or artists that are on your playlist right now that motivate your workouts?
Oh, for me, it's all different kinds. You know how much I love Prince. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then Justin Timberlake, if I'm working out, some of his music is really, really good.
Yeah.
I know yours is really eclectic.
Yeah, I mean, mine is usually mostly rock. So I'm pulling out Skillet and Bride and Striper and, anything that's got anything that's 120 beats per minute or faster. I'm there. And you add a guitar to it because it's just at the time that I'm like, and I'm like, nope. And then you hear that, and you're like, yeah, and you're like ready to go. So, find the
Queen will
playlist
do
that's
that
appropriate.
too.
Yeah.
Queen will definitely be good for a workout. The one thing that you should always do with your vacation photos, We could think about this forever and you wouldn't come up with the answer, but the answer is so true. Here it is. Make sure you and your loved ones are in the pictures.
Yes. It's funny because this has always been a standing thing with me because even pre days of selfie, um, my first marriage, my father-in-law, when he was alive, he used to always say, don't just show me a picture of whatever landmark. Like, I want to see you in it because I can buy that postcard, or I can go online and download the picture. This might have been pre-internet days. I can't remember. Anyway, but now you can. But he's right. And even in a day and world where AI can, change your background and, people know, like they know you're not there. So make it like really real. Like you and I had opportunities when we met John Travolta and we had like posed pictures with him and people thought it was a stand-up. And then we had friends who posed with him in the same setting, but it was more selfie-like. It was like, oh, that looks more real than... But we were genuinely all in the same room together. But again, putting yourself in the photos is why people want to see the photos. They don't care. They could see a million shots of Disney World, but if you're in them and you're making, the ugly face as you go down the coaster, like that's the reaction is more of the picture than where you're at, right?
And moms, you're always taking the pictures. So guess what? You're not in very many pictures. I've got albums beyond albums. And I bet there's 4 pictures of me and my child and her growing up years because I'm taking the pictures. And it's weird that it never dawned on me. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm missing in these albums. And so just remember, people do want to see you. And part of that was, I was really upset about my weight. So I was fine if I was never in a picture.
Right.
But looking back,
sure,
I kind of miss that.
100%. Well, and I love that we live in a day and age where people, when you're out in public, strangers will go, hey, do you want me to take that? So that you can jump in the photo. So if you're in a nice restaurant or, you're, once in a lifetime opportunity in some situation, because again, you're focusing on getting the camera right, and then your face and, 8 chins and whatever later, you're like, oh, wow. It's like not my greatest angle, but, I mean, they got selfie sticks and all kinds of stuff now. That's why, your phone has a timer if you wanted to go that route too. But yeah, I mean, put yourself in it. Like Roxanne said, if for no other reason, don't regret, oh man, I was there too. Well, there's no proof of it. I was behind the camera. Sure you were.
Sure. I am her mom, by the way. Sure.
Right.
Sure, you can't tell. All right, it's time to talk about the perfect $75 diaper. And it is not for children. It's for adult concert goers.
Oh.
Put together by Liquid Death, a beverage company,
Yep.
and the Depend brand. They got together, Depend for incontinence.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, it's frightening looking. It's made out of leather. Why? Because it's going to be inside your pants. That doesn't make no sense to me.
You got to
Just
look
saying.
rock and roll. If you're going to wear a diaper, it's got to be edgy.
What? And it's stuffed with, pads. So it's just meant for urine, but it's $75. And I thought, who in their right mind?
No
would
one in
do
their right
something?
mind. No one in their right mind.
But here's the thing, that the Swifties are into it because if you pay thousands of dollars for one concert ticket, you don't want to go to the bathroom and be gone during your favorite song of hers. And so they're wearing these things. Oh.
Well, and I also think about people that were like lining the streets, for, the ball drop, you get there and you can't leave for hours. So you're in line or in your spot by Ryan Seacrest for what feels like days. So, you're either not drinking or you are, I guess, getting your Liquid Death diaper.
And they sell out. So just think next concert you go to, it could be by a road. And Wayne's like, I know you find that amusing, but there was one time we were at the Broadway show and we're in the middle. And, it's like incorrect to get up during the show.
Absolutely.
Very bad. And he was in agony, just like trying to climb over people, agony.
Yeah.
And he could have used one. I'm like, honey, no.
I will not be seen in public if that is what you choose to wear. Lord help us all.
So you wouldn't do it
No,
ever?
never. I mean, now maybe when I get to a point where it's the difference between my wife changing my diaper and, when I get to that age,
Oh, yeah. That's
maybe.
different.
But I'm not going out in public, like that's I don't care how cool or rock and roll. You could put a Kiss logo on it or, a cross. I'm like, no. Looks cool, but I ain't wearing that.
Imagine starting your day with a coffee that changes lives. Say hello to Roxanne Blend. With creamy malty aromas and hints of caramel, pecan, and butterscotch, Roxanne Blend is crafted from the finest Arabica and Robusta beans. Perfect for espresso or your favorite cup in the morning. At My Brother's Cup, every purchase supports medical and humanitarian missions, helping victims of trafficking. Enjoy quality, care, and a cause you can believe in. Visit mybrotherscup.com and make a difference with every sip. Roxanne Blend. Great coffee, greater good.
We're Roxanne and Ace Unlimited, and Ace, doing somersaults because he gets to talk to a songwriter. And that's what Ace does, which is pretty amazing. Our guest is the founder and director of Music for the Soul. He's a very accomplished songwriter. Listen to the people he's written music for. Kenny Loggins, like my husband's favorite, Smokey Robinson, Patti LaBelle, Kenny Rogers, the Oak Ridge Boys, come on. And he's won Dove Awards. I mean, it's amazing. And decided, you know what? We're going to do Music for the Soul, a podcast, which is pretty cool. And so we've got a lot to talk about. His latest musical project is called What Hope Says. And it's aimed at people suffering with anxiety. A lot of us have it, and we need some hope. And so we welcome our guest, the founder and director of Music for the Soul, Steve Siler. Hi there.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on today. Appreciate it.
So, Steve, as a songwriter, I'm just going to ask, what is the process? Because I know for so many people, I believe that songs, when you listen to a song, you pray twice, right? It's the music allows you to say the words you can't find to say themselves.
Yes.
But for you, what do you believe is the song that people cling to the most when it comes to where they're at?
Well, the thing about a song, and you just alluded to it, it touches both hemispheres of our brain, because in a song, you've got the lyrics, which are talking to the language processing center. That's the left hemisphere. And then you've got the melody, which is being processed in the right hemisphere, which, by the way, is where we store our trauma. So a song goes instantly to that place where we carry our hurts, our emotions, and it opens a door. And once you open that doorway to the heart and the heart opens up, now we can take the lyric and lay a healing message in that open heart in a way that they're going to remember it, because people remember 90% of what they hear in music and 10% of what they're told. So songs, God has given us this amazing gift of communication that I've often felt is just so underutilized. It's for a lot more than just dancing and, selling beer.
Amen.
Even though we love to do that. So you tackle some really tough topics. Can you delve into that for us?
Well, yeah, I got into this when I'd written a song called Innocent Child for sexual abuse survivors. And a lady said to me, people have been telling me I was an innocent child my whole life. I never believed it until I heard you sing it today.
Wow.
And I felt like, okay, that's a word from the Lord. I mean, I recognized instantly that that was an important statement, and I felt burdened to do something about it. So Music for the Soul, although it took about 10 or 12 years of a detour till I finally came around to the place where I could do that, Music for the Soul is me doing something about that on a whole host of issues, because I believe that the things that are difficult to talk about, you can sing about anything. And although the songs, the projects are about things like eating disorders and pornography addiction and suicide, grief, all these really difficult topics, really what these songs are really about. They're about people's hopes. They're about people's fears. They're about people's dreams. They're about all the things that churn inside us that we sometimes have a hard time talking about. So by putting it into a song, I think it just makes it so much more accessible to people.
Yeah, and also, it doesn't have to be a Christian song for it to help hit all the healing spots, right? And
That's right.
that's what I love. I've been a part of church plants where the pastor will actually plan his sermon around a secular song that he is knowing that more likely they're going to hear the secular song than they would the Christian song,
Right.
so that he can attach some kind of 3-point sermon for the benefit of, hey, if you're going through this song, see it through this lens.
Yeah, I love pastors who get that.
Yeah. Amen.
Rabbis sing everything, but for some reason, Christian pastors feel like they need to talk all the time. So I love the ones who know that songs can actually serve a purpose from the pulpit. That's neat.
Yeah.
Now, this new music has consulting therapists that absolutely love it. So did they see the results and how it affects people and helps them in their daily walk?
Oh, yeah. The testimonies we get are so amazing. I'm always grateful to therapists when they help me pull back the curtain and see how this stuff works on the front lines. But we don't, I'm not a therapist. So before we'll record anything, we take the input of therapists to help create the lyrics. And then we also take the songs back to a consulting therapy team and say, okay, is this it? Have we missed anything? Have we gotten anything wrong? Because we don't want to cause harm, right? It's the do no harm idea. The same thing with doctors, the Hippocratic Oath. So the other thing we do is we also test the songs out with people who've lived through the issue we're talking about. All right, this actually is something that you've been through and recovered from. Does this resonate for you? And when somebody goes, that was me, then we know we're on the right track.
Yeah, because I think every songwriter has heard, that when you did that song, it's like you were singing right to me, or you wrote that song about my life.
Exactly.
And that's what makes music great. Talk about, Steve, the importance of playing an instrument as a healer when you're actually able to convey your own emotions through an instrument.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who just grieves so deeply when I hear about music programs being cut. Because I think starting an instrument young and having that experience of being able to express through an instrument, it's a profoundly healing thing for the person who's playing it. Yeah. It's a profound source of deep joy. And of course, we all know the way different instruments convey different things to our hearts as we listen. I always say, you want to make somebody cry, just pull out a cello. Here we go. We're turning on the tear machine, right? But there's a reason we respond that way. We're wired to respond to those sounds, and we talk about music touching us. That's what happens when music hits our eardrums. It's actually touching us and causing vibrations. So this is all part of the way God has designed us to respond to music.
How important are the lyrics? Because I'll have to admit, as I get older, I think, what is that? What are we singing about? Are they saying what I think they're saying? And why should they be singing it? It seems like to me, if these songs are to be healing, we ought to be able to understand and embrace the lyric.
Well, naturally, I grew up listening to pop music like everybody, and always loved the lyrics that didn't really mean anything but sounded so cool. I'm done being cool. Now every song has to have a point, right? We are trying to speak to the specific. I call it the arc of healing. Every issue has points along the healing spectrum that you can identify and say everybody who goes through, let's say, eating disorders is going to walk through these stages in their healing process. I want each song on that project to directly target the things that the therapists and the survivors of that issue tell me, this is what's important if you're going to get through this and heal from this. And so those lyrics have to be very clear and very precise. So I have even more respect for lyrics now than I did, when I was, quote, just a songwriter, writing for CCM and doing the staff thing.
Yeah, I think I've heard the quote, and it's paraphrased several different ways, and I'm probably doing the same in this moment. But John Lennon said, tell the truth and make it catchy. I know that's my process, not just as a Beatles fan, but it does resonate of, is this something that's memorable? Because again, whether you're a song on a Sunday morning or the song that's with you in the car, what is it that, what I like to say is your anthem for the day. Find that
Right.
Eye of the Tiger anthem that no
Right.
matter where you are in your life with God or without him, you're finding something that brings you back into the semblance of peace that only he can bring.
Right, right. And of course, John's right. It's got to be hooky, right? You don't want to bore people.
Right.
And we are designed, again, God has designed us to respond to those hooks, whether they be rhythmic or melodic or syncopations. You all know, like, for example, if I want to have a good cry, I know that I need to put on Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring, close my eyes and lay on the floor, and I will be crying within about 3 minutes. Right? So I mean, everybody's got their go-to music, and if I feel like when I want to, like, throw my fist in the air, I'll put on the Beatles' Revolution. Okay, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I think for all of us, and you alluded to it earlier, it's okay to celebrate the gift of secular music. All of these songwriters and singers and musicians were created by our loving God.
Amen.
And so those gifts are being used, and we get to choose what we listen to, for sure. But I think that we don't need to dismiss people simply because it's not a church song.
What an incredible thing that you put together for the world to help heal people. It's incredible. How can people get more information about your ministry, about Music for the Soul? How can they find your podcast?
Okay, well, musicforthesoul.org is our website, all spelled out, and not a SOLE, believe it or not. Some people think we're a fish. It's Music for the Soul, SOUL.org. Everything streams at our website. Everything at our website is downloadable for a gift of any amount, even if that's a penny. We don't want costs to ever separate somebody from something that they need. So there's a lot of stuff there. We've got over 225 recordings at the site, but our podcast is also accessible from there. And most of our stuff is on the streaming services, not all of it. You got to go to the website if you want everything.
Yeah. Steve, before you go, talk to the future songwriters of the world that are trying desperately to write their lives in song or say something that either hasn't been said before or said in their own unique way. And the industry's changed so much. Speak to their hearts, because it can be very frustrating in a world that you don't need radio anymore, but then you still need promotion and you need to self-brand and all of that while also writing the music. Like, at some point, you're exhausted. Encourage them today.
I would say the number one thing as a songwriter is to remember that if it's true for you, it's true for somebody out there. Write your story. You have to put yourself into your songs because you're the only one living your life. So your perspective is what makes it unique. At the same time, I would encourage all the writers out there, you should be reading, you should be watching movies, you should be observing people, you should be listening to a lot of songs. All of that is your homework, but it's a joy, it's not drudgery. And then the way that you look at the world through your songs and give back what you've absorbed is what can bless the world.
Yeah. I love the idea of you are what you eat. So as you write, what are you processing forward in your readings, in your other styles? Or, to go back to a Beatles reference, they would try to emulate their idols. So they would try to write like Roy Orbison or like the Isley Brothers or whoever, and then they would come out with something that was Beatlesque, but it was them living through what they were feeding themselves with.
Sure. And then ever since then, everybody else has been using them.
Right. So true. Steve Siler has been our guest. Thanks so much for your insights, and wisdoms today.
Oh, it was so much fun being with you guys. God bless.
Vibes. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, we like to check in on each other's vibes. I think we've been to the library this week. So, Roxanne, you go first.
Yes, this book is called Good Mood Revolution. It is by Matt O'Neill, Igniting the Power of Conscious Happiness. And he's a Christian and writes from that perspective, but it's common sense things. And one of the things he says is, say it's a hot day. Your attitude looking out could be, Lord, why does it have to be this muggy?
Yeah.
Why is it 98 degrees? It just makes me grouchy. I'm miserable. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just have it be a little bit? There's that. Then there's you waking up and going, Lord, you gave me another day. I can experience the sun.
Mm.
The sun is a miracle. And guess what? The flowers, oh, they're excited. It's all how we look at things. And when we look at things in a negative way, it makes us unhappy.
That's
Common
good.
sense, but
Yeah.
it's a great read.
It's awesome. Well, the one I just finished, Created to Hear God. And I got this as a Christmas gift from my wife, and I read it in like a day. Because it's right at the heart of where I've been for probably the last 7 years of deciphering God's voice from my own agenda. But the thing I love about it is that immediately it spotlights that we all hear from God differently. So some people are hearers, some people are seers, some people sense, and it breaks it down and it shows the strengths and the weaknesses based on how you hear from God so that you can use them to your benefit. And then if you know the weakness part of it, you can then go, okay, I need to be mindful of this because I am a hearer or because I'm looking for God, or whatever. But just in realizing that we all have that individual relationship because so many times we fall victim to, well, I want my ministry to look and feel like Pastor so-and-so. Well, they listen and hear and see and talk to God differently than you do. And we're made that way, while there are groups of us in the certain things and they will emulate to a certain point, knowing that, okay, well, I've been all this time looking to see God work when I should have been listening because I've been hearing his voice and I didn't realize that was him. Like what a revolutionary moment for us in our faith to finally go, this is how I hear from God. And it's the greatest. So it's an easy read. You can go to even the cliff notes at the end of each chapter and just mark like crazy, because I know you like to write in your books. So you just go, yep, me.
So I have to ask, how do you hear from God? What's your primary?
It is an audible voice that he speaks to me in my mind, in my prayers. Like when I kind of get through with my Thanksgivings of the day, I just sit and meditate and he just pours into it. And he's actually been challenging me to journal all the things that he says to me that are of semblance. So that way a year from now or a month from now, I can go back and see where he told me something and then see it come to fruition. So it's that reminder for me that he is working, so that when I get frustrated or I get overwhelmed with my physical emotions of something, I can go, all right, what did God say about this? Or have I even checked in with him on certain things, which a lot of times we don't do. I don't want to hear what God has to say. I know what he's going to say, which I've thrown that toddler tantrum too. But we have to give ourselves the moment to say, have I talked to God? And that goes back to my word of the year of silence. I have to get away from the things that are causing the clutter so that I can allow him time to speak to me. If I'm not allowing and then I'm frazzled all the time, well, it's probably because I haven't given him time to go, are you going to chill? Are you going to let me take care of this for you? And that's a great place to be in. It's not always the easiest to sit because I want him to work yesterday, but we get there, right?
Right.
So
That's
good.
really cool. I love
So
that.
add those to your reading list for the new year. Of course, thanks to My Brother's Cup and Birmingham Mortgage Group, Steve Siler, for his wisdoms and insights as you build your playlist this week. Lots to contribute. Thanks, of course, for liking, subscribing, and following, and we'll see you again next week. Roxanne, I love you.
Love you.
You've been listening to Roxanne and Ace Unlimited. To make sure you don't miss future shows, you can subscribe anywhere you like to podcast and catch up on anything you've missed. Find out more at RoxanneandAce.com. Roxanne and Ace Unlimited is a production of Spacebird Media.